There's no law concerning how to keep marriage sacred. The kingship devoured his strength,
and he knoweth it not.
And he don't even realize it. They don't even. There's no law. There's no law concerning how to keep marriage sacred. The kingship devoured his strength,
and he knoweth it not.
And he don't even realize it. They don't even. There's no law. Even realize that they're the children of Israel. Realize it. They don't even realize that they're the children of Israel. The 10 tribes. But the Most High would one day, what? Awaken Judah to bring them back to the fold. Now, because of time, I'm about to jump into some of this history. That's how they fell. Now you have the 10 tribes scattered without hope, without any hope in the world, believing they're Gentiles. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi is still intact. Eventually, the kingdom or the kingship falls under the Babylonian Empire. And after the Babylonian Syrian Empire, then you would have the Persian Medo Empire. And then you got it. The Greeks and Romans. They took the black Jews away. Let's now focus on the Jews who were left in Judea now. Under the Greeks, there arose one by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes. This is around 164 BC, between the Grecian Empire and the Roman Empire. Here's a bust of an Edomite by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes. Now, the reason we're going into him is because every place the Israelites are conquered, right? The government, what I would call the governmental as well as religious blueprint on how to keep us enslaved, begins with Antiochus. That means if we're conquered, they would use the same rules of Antiochus Epiphanes to keep the children of Israel enslaved. Right? Now, in the book of Maccabees, it breaks down the Gentiles' intent against Judah, Benjamin, and Levi to keep us from ever awakening. Because once we begin to come to the light, we'll begin to awaken our other brothers who were scattered. So they had to put a religious mechanism in place, a tyrannical religious mechanism. Now, my question to you, how many of you can say you agree with what Antiochus Epiphanes set up? And I'm going to go over these through bullet points. Right? Tell me if you agree with this. We're in what? 2nd Maccabees, the 6th chapter. Read.
2nd Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1.
Come on.
Not long after this, the king sent, if you don't mind, can we start in 1 Maccabees 1 and then
Go
jump
ahead.
over?
Come on.
So we're going to start at 1 Maccabees 1 and then jump over to 1 Maccabees 6.
Come on.
1 Maccabees 1, verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes.
It's speaking out of the Greeks.
Son of Antiochus, king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Jumping down to verse 41.
Now, of course, we taught this in the academy last week. Who's Edom? Who was in Rome during this time? You got it. Zephon's lineage through Esau took the throne of Rome years before the Greeks and Romans came on the scene in power. The Edomites were ruling in Rome years. I'm talking about over 1,000 years before Christ was on the scene. They were already, you got it, in Rome and set up a throne. You can read that in the book of Jasher through Esau's grandson, Zepho. Zepho is written of in Genesis, the 36th chapter. Go on.
Verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
So now he wrote a decree to Rome. To Jerusalem, that we should all be one people. No more separating according to what God you worship. You understand? Or what nation you're aligned with. That all people should be one people. Read.
And everyone should leave his laws.
And every race of people, regardless of the traditions of your foreparents, should leave their laws.
So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
All the heathens agreed to denounce their own traditions to make a new way of life.
Mm-hmm.
All races under one understanding, irregardless of their forefathers' traditions.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to the Tower of Babel.
It was called Hell.
It's called exactly. Would agree to their tradition and walk in a new world fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds familiar? Sounds like the world we're living in today, doesn't it? Come on.
Verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
So Israelites consented to this religion. So this way of life, Israelites begin to consent to this. Mm-hmm. That we would denounce the laws given to us through Moses.
Mm-hmm.
Read.
Now here's the bullet points.
Here's the bullet points. Let's go.
And sacrifice unto idols.
Hold up. Number 1, sacrifice unto idols.
And the Sabbath.
Profane the Sabbath. Hold up now. They agreed to do Satan. That bring all the Gentiles together. Make sure that they sacrifice to idols. The sacrifice unto idols are the holy days that are set up under Babylon. Christmas, Easter, Sunday, Lent, all of that is a sacrifice unto idols. And then we must agree all together to profane the Sabbath day of the Lord.
Mm.
When God said, remember the Sabbath? Come on.
For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
So now they're pressuring our people to follow the strange laws of the land.
Mm-hmm.
That means, no, you treat the Sabbath like any other day. Profane it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to find this is a time in which the Gentiles began to heavily push Sunday worship, like it was in ancient Babylon. All quiet on Sunday, but profane the Sabbath of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
If I can mention, this was forced upon all nations, but it had a specific profound effect on our nation.
Exactly. They all agreed to it, but it had the greatest impact, the greatest negative impact against us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were given the law and we were told, according to the law, to keep the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And this also proves, like I think Gaja pulled out before we discussed this earlier, the madness that they're teaching in the Seventh-day Adventists. It proved that that's a total false doctrine, that the that the so-called Sunday law is the mark of the beast. When the Sunday law was instituted during Antiochus Epiphanes, what are you talking about?
It was illegal. It was illegal to keep the Sabbath.
It was illegal to keep the Sabbath during Antiochus Epiphanes' time. Come on.
45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
So also that they should not only just profane the Sabbath, but also that our people should do what?
Profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
No more festival days for the Hebrew Israelites. You ought to follow our pagan days.
So ask yourself a question. Is your church telling you this? That you shouldn't keep the Sabbath?
Exactly.
So what church are you under?
What church are you under that's saying that you could profane the Sabbath and celebrate Christmas and Easter? And totally denounce and disrespect the holy days as written in the same Bible you claim to uphold. Read.
46. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols.
Catholic Church. When the Catholic Church conquered us, when they conquered, look at what they did to our people in Africa. Set up a church filled with idols. The Palikwa Taino Indians and those that they conquered even over here in the Americas turned the Israelites who were scattered throughout the earth into idolaters. In the name of Christ, in the name of Jesus.
And that's the difference. At this time, we knew what it was.
We knew what it was back then.
Right.
And chose it.
Exactly. So now the dangerous thing is that this same concept is being taught under the guise of Christ. This is what Christ desires.
They're teaching this concept as if Christ commanded it, when really it's a command through what? A Greek tyrant by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes. It had nothing to do with Jesus doing away with the Sabbath. They're really teaching the principles in the Christian church of Antiochus Epiphanes. That wicked root that the Bible speaks of. Come on.
Verse 47, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
And they sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beast. So who would teach you it's okay to eat swine and unclean and pray over it and sanctify it? Not Jesus. Antiochus Epiphanes, a pagan demon. Because when it talks about your daily sacrifice being taken away, the sacrifices are the clean meats that were given to the Israelites to eat. And unclean food was forbidden. That's the whole reason to define a meat as unclean. Don't touch it. It's not for the righteous, the chosen. Because if you eat the animals which eats the sicknesses out of the earth, eventually you become sick. Okay? Come on.
Verse 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make
Hold up. Leave their children uncircumcised. Break the law of Abraham and have them walk uncircumcised. Read.
and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
Hold up. Make them what?
Make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness.
Hold up. So by them doing what? Profaning the Sabbath, keeping them away from the holy days, having them worship the holy days of the Gentiles, sacrifice the idols, eventually it will have an effect on their minds and their soul. They'll become the example of wickedness on the earth, being portrayed in the earth with rotten souls. By doing this, it would have a profound effect on their demeanors. there would be now the example of disobedience in the earth. Go ahead.
Before you read that, I want to finish this out, and you can bring that in.
Okay. Go
Verse
on.
49. This is the purpose of all this. To the end
To the end. Now, here was the Antiochus' purpose.
that they might forget the law
That they might forget God's law
and change all the ordinances.
and change all the ordinances that was given to us through our God. Now, if we fell by disobeying God's law, and they've instituted these tenets in our religion, having us believing the whole time we're serving God, how will we ever get out of this condition under the Gentiles? We believe we're doing right by celebrating Christmas, Easter, we don't know that this is direct defiant of the God who made us. We have no idea. Now they're teaching in Christianity,
Yep.
believe it or not, these were that was on if the that you Sunday worship over the Sabbath. You see the trick? You see how they switched out righteousness with unrighteousness and now have our people defending it, upholding it? Why? Because it tells us in Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. If you knew what you were doing, you would walk away. You would put it down. Go on, other lawyer.
Yes, sir. A few more verses, and then I'll bring you up. Yep. It says here, verse 50. I'm going to read verses 50 through 51, and then I'm going to jump down to verse 61.
Come on.
To the end that they might forget the laws and change all the ordinances, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king.
Now, whoever defied this commandment, this religious order,
He said he should die.
he should die. Eventually kill those who would uphold the righteous laws of God. Now we see why Christ was killed by the Romans, folks. They're lying to you about Christ. Christ didn't do away with the law given to Moses. They killed him because he was a threat to the Gentile statutes and their laws that did what? That would rival God's law. Understand this. This is why they killed Christ. He was a threat to the Roman Empire. Because by the time the Romans came on the scene, this decree was totally instituted in the pagan life of what you would call Europeans or Romans up until this present time. But back then, it was totally instituted by the time the Romans came on the scene. That paganism is normal now. We're not to follow the laws of God. Come on.
Verse 51. In the selfsame manner, he wrote his whole kingdom and appointed officers over all the people.
Come on.
Commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. So he set up overseers, officers, or ministers to ensure that this went forward. Key verse here says here, verse 61. See if this sounds familiar. It says, or I'll start in verse 60. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised, and they hanged the infants about their necks.
So they started killing the children and women for enforcing the law given to our people by our God.
But check out the manner
As
of
an
killing.
example.
Check out the manner of
Check
killing.
out the manner of killing.
They hang them about their necks. Does that sound familiar?
Hanging them about their necks. Same thing they did to us in the New World in America. Same. Now this happened, what we're reading, folks, happened, 100 and some odd years before Christ was born. They were trying to institute the total defiance of God's law as law on the earth. Because this would be what? This would be a constant way in the future of keeping the children of Israel under their power. So this was a religious belief here. They would have to institute this within the religious institutions. And that's why our people have suffered. The more religious we become, the worse off we become. That's why. Because they teach us to break the laws within these religions. Islam, as well as Christianity. As well as Eastern religions. I mean, who could convince you, like I said before, to believe any religion that starts with some fat Asian guy on your table? Like what? I don't care how good, how relaxing the music is. I can put on some music and you know, and put on some rain and have some rain play behind it. Let me tell you, folks, anytime you see an idol, you should see a demon. That's a gate, a vortex. Okay? I wanted to put that out there. They began to make the tenets that we see naturally, that we defend naturally in Christianity, a law in which if Israelites didn't follow the heathen ways and denounce the Sabbath, that they should be killed. What's wrong with having a law in which you're civil with everyone else, you're following God's commandments, you're following the Passover, Christ's Passover, in remembrance of him. You're following the Passover also in remembrance of our God saving us out of the land of Egypt. You're not supposed to kill, steal, commit adultery, and do no wickedness. You're supposed to love your neighbor as thyself. What's wrong with a law like that? And why would the church teach that that's done away with? Why would they try to say, well, we keep all the laws except the Sabbath? Why would they state that? We keep the 10 Commandments. They'd be like, no, you're lying. They well, except the Sabbath. Why, Pastor? Why all the laws except the Sabbath? Because Antiochus Epiphanes, the Gentiles, told you not to keep it. Or they'll lie. Oh no, well, I teach, I serve God every day. You are a liar. You're lying to yourself.
So did the Israelites. The Israelites worship God every day.
We worship God every day.
But that didn't, make the Sabbath.
Exactly. They didn't change what the Sabbath is.
Exactly.
This is what I was gonna add before when you're saying it comes in right with it. Romans 7:14. For we know that the law is spiritual. So check it out. Once we start to break the laws, right, something happens within the spirit. And that's the aim.
Yes.
The aim is to distort the spirit. That's what it is. Because
you have to realize Satan gave Antiochus and the Greeks and Romans the formula. If you want to destroy the soul of an Israelite, these tenets must be in place. Then we can control them through disobedience. We have to make sure that when we set up a religious institution, idols are attached to it. We have to make sure they forget and profane the Sabbath because that connects them with their God. We have to also have them follow our holy days and denounce their holy days because not just what it'll do on the surface, it's what it'll do to their inward souls. It turns them dark. Because of their disobedience, the residual effects of the disobedience is they will become the children of disobedience on earth. They will no longer value family, children, women. They'll become dishonorable because why? If you're that way towards your God, what's to stop you from being even more a wreck of disobedience amongst your people? So this was a formula that affects our people a certain type of way. It doesn't affect the Gentiles like that because they weren't given the law. But it turns our souls dark. It turns us. Because anytime you can make an excuse not to do what God say, what is to stop you from doing anything?
Right.
Like what type of
What restraints do you have now?
The whole thing is when it comes to a relationship and my responsibility to my fellow man.
If I don't regard my God,
If I can just disobey God and break his oath,
who cares?
what type of agreement can I keep with you?
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
what it is.
How can I trust you?
That's the truth. that is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
And just dropping a little historic tidbit. It was just before Antiochus and Epiphany, under the Ptolemaic dynasty, that they had translated made the Septuagint,
Right.
studying the people,
Right.
saying that, oh well, the Greeks need to know the laws. You know, the Greeks, the Hellenists needed to know the Bible. But they never,
Exactly.
they never cared about that. It was a way to find out how can we get these people going against God. You need the history.
But this is how I deal with these Gentiles now. When they say, well, listen, the law is done away with. My answer to them is, you're not in no position to tell me what our law is. The law wasn't given to you.
So how you know it's done away with?
So who gives you the authority to tell us something that your people had nothing to do with?
Right.
Should I listen to you? According to the history I'm reading, following your religion actually rottens my soul. Okay? Following what you're doing is actually deteriorating me. So I have nothing to... Listen, you can say the law's done away with because it wasn't given to you, but it affects our people. Have you seen the ghetto? Do you think these are people you should be telling the law is done away with? You think these are the people you should be telling that to? Okay, so the Bible, it tell you here, now it gives us, it identifies in history, biblical history, this guy exists. The actual, I would call, architect of the doctrine that would keep our people in perpetual servitude under Gentiles. That's the architect right there, Antiochus. We have to make sure we set up sacrifices of idols, make sure these particular people profane the Sabbath, and they must follow our sacrifice holy days to Moloch, opposed to their holy days. And if people decide to come together and not do so, eventually we have to plan on getting rid of them altogether. Because once these people begin to follow this,
So
we as a people or rulers have no more power over these people. No servants, no slaves, no kingdom. Okay? So we have to set up temples and tell them the law is done away with. A matter of fact, you must teach them there's someone else so they don't feel obligated to follow the law. Teach them there's someone else. Right? What else you got, Elder Lloyd? Come on.
Yes, sir. 2 Maccabees 6 and
Put
verse
some water
1.
in there for me.
Yes, sir.
Come on. All right.
Got you. Can I have some water too? The water.
Okay, go on.
2 Maccabees 6 and 1.
Yes.
Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers.
So they sent a man from Athens to tell the Jews to do what?
To depart from the laws of their fathers.
To depart from the laws of their fathers.
And not to live after the laws of God.
And not to live after the laws of God. And let me put that in there now. Don't follow the law of God. Follow what? Y'all have heard this in the Christian church. You must follow the laws of the land. If that's not putting man over God. How many times we've heard that in the Christian church? And this was before we ever found out that we were Israel. Oh, no, we're not to follow those bad laws of God. We can't follow that. That's the bad stuff. We got to follow the laws of the land. See? Antiochus. Read.
Verse 2, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius.
Call it the what?
Call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius.
Let's call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius. Now that's deep in itself, folks. Because when they took down the Jews in 70 AD, the black Jews, and I'm going to read that in a second, you know what the pagans did? You know what the Romans did? They took, check it out, they took the statue of Jupiter, put it into the church, and named it Peter. Right now, the water, brother.
Wow.
Right now in the Vatican, the temple of Satan, that's what it is. There's a statue, no sooner as you go in there, of so-called Peter, when really it came out of the pagan temple. It was Jupiter in the pagan temple. And they could not have placed it there until first destroying the original temple and the people. These are the people who have delivered you your Christianity, which will lead us to, pass me that book, our lesson coming this coming Wednesday, our conversation next, our broadcast Wednesday, the collapse of the black church. The Handbook of Denominations in the United States. Information on more than 250 religious bodies. Now, of course, we're not going to go through all 250. We're going to show you why they actually created all these religions, these Christian churches in America. It was aimed towards dividing us the whole time and keeping us away from the laws we fell from. The black church was set up to actually, it was set up to get dismantled. They set it up on purpose that way. And that's why you see the so-called apologetics coming from out of their dark shadows right now to defend. They're letting you know they were the ones the whole time. The black church have done its purpose for them. It's over. It's over. Our people are utterly destitute without any hope. That was the whole point of setting up these wicked tenets I'm reading within our churches. It was to destroy, to have the black churches agree with all the immorality in the earth that would lead to a serious number of people walking away from the Bible and the church altogether. In particular, our people. It was set up to collapse, and they're collapsing it on its own head. I'm going to be going into that this coming Wednesday. Let's go.
2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse number 2. And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius.
So their whole plan was to set up Jupiter or Zeus as our God. Jesus, Jesus. That was the plan the whole time. This plan was hatched 150 years before Christ was born, folks. The plan of how Satan would take over the church. Read.
In that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do within the circuit, or had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. So in other words, they were dealing with prostitution within the Most High's temple.
They began to deal with prostitution within the temple. Sound familiar? Sexual immorality in the church of God was taught to us by the Gentiles.
And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful,
Come on.
The altar also was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbaths, or Sabbath days, or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
Woo! Is this not the plan of the Christian church for our people? They have totally executed this plan. The Jesuits are behind this conspiracy to make sure the tenets of Antiochus has now become doctrine within the Christian church to keep our people enslaved. Read that again, Elder Lawyer.
2 Maccabees 6 and 6.
2 Maccabees 6 and 6. Read.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days.
They made it illegal for our people to keep the Sabbath. You notice there's no problem keeping a Sunday. And that's why, to some degree, even though Kanye West is going through a transition, to some degree they are keeping it going. Why? They're allowing it to happen because he's shining a positive light on Sunday worship. And if they can use any portion of what he's dealing with for their own turn, so be it. So be it. Now, I'll tell you what, and hopefully this don't happen, but if that Sunday service by Kanye is turned into Sabbath service, he'll probably be hanging out with Jimmy Hoffa. Not according to what I'm saying, according to the decree under Antiochus Epiphanes against our people. Okay. When the last time you heard from Kendrick Lamar? It's like he's in witness protection right now. I'm going to tell you, folks. Read it again.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
So it came a time in which it was unlawful for you to become or claim that you were an Israelite. Sounds familiar? In which they would demonize you and deem you as some type of terrorist or cult? Mm-hmm. Huh? Sound familiar? We're giving you history here.
Just something real quick.
Yeah.
Just since this week in Jamaica,
Yeah.
the police raided a Yahweh group. You with me?
Yeah.
And a lot of people within our church are getting phone calls asking if it's us. You understand?
Okay. So Elder God just say a Yahweh group in Jamaica was raided the other day, and brothers and sisters were calling the church asking, was it us?
Yeah, if it's us. So I'm just
Yeah.
going off of the back of what we're reading here now, is that they're coming for us.
Well, you have to realize a lot of these groups, like the Yahweh Ben Yahwehs and all of them, the Ben Ami groups and all that.
Yeah.
A lot of these groups were actually Zionist established.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yes, they were Zion. Let me tell you, these are all government planned movements.
Interesting.
Because they were trying to get in front of it to demonize what they knew what was coming.
Israelite awakening.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
A lot of these guys were actually like Yahweh Ben Yahweh and all of those guys. They wanted those guys to operate because they were operating in the spirit of Antichrist. These are the examples they wanted out there. And these guys, even when there was a connection with the gangster disciples, Masons and all that when it comes to these other groups.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so when it comes to drugs on the street and all these different types of illegal type of things, a lot of these groups were doing all these crazy things. They were considered real cults. And this is the same way they were able to nurture and bring up someone like Jim Jones. They just did that with black groups.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They really do. I'm just going back on the scriptures.
Yeah.
I'm saying that they eventually it's coming back to this.
Exactly.
Yeah, eventually they're gonna try to find a way to engage to stop what's going on. Yeah, eventually. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. No doubt about it. But the way they do it, they usually send in one of their minions or someone to try to do something, and through that, demonize the whole thing politically. It's about demonizing first, right? And at the end of it, the guy Byron Ireland eloquently talked about the 4 Ds. But after demonizing, they can no more demonize. They discredit. After they can't discredit you, they discredit, demonize, and the last D is what? Destroy you. Right? But go on.
Reading on, verse 7, it says, "And in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of those sacrifices."
So they had to eat of the sacrifices, okay, in honor of the king. Read.
"And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus, carrying ivy."
Now check out the feast of Bacchus. You would never guess what day was the celebration of Bacchus in the Roman and Greek temples. You would never guess what day that was, brothers and sisters. Sunday. The worship of Bacchus was every Sunday. Hold up. It's against the government's law, the Greeks and Romans' law, for you to keep the Sabbath. But you must pay homage to the Bacchus festivals. Well, I did research on the Bacchus festivals, and they would keep a weekly crying to Tammuz of ancient Babylon every Sunday, to Tammuz. And later it became the weeping of women to Bacchus at the Bacchus temples, where the women used to come in early in the morning to serve Bacchus every Sunday. No wonder the Christian churches are filled with what? Women. It's the same practice. 150 years Christ was born. What we the doctrine we today as 50 years before Christ was born, they were already doing the same service that we see in churches today. Instituted, swore under the tyranny of Antiochus Epiphanes. When the Jesuits came on the scene later, they just took this blueprint of religion, and the Roman Catholic it would sponsor harlots that came from the Roman Catholic Church, which we will go into next Wednesday. Come on.
"And in the day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus, carrying ivy."
Carrying ivy, read.
"Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices."
We are to celebrate the holy days of the land. It was decreed by the Edomites that we should denounce our holy days and follow what everyone else is following. Go on.
Verse 9, "And whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles,
Come on.
should be put to death."
Should be what?
Should be put to death.
Should be put to death. So I thought we had freedom of religion to follow whatever we would like to follow. Isn't that what they're telling us? Huh? What's this thing that we cannot follow, that we cannot denounce Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving and Halloween and follow the laws of in the Bible? That if you do so, automatically in this world you're demonized as crazy, cultish, right? Automatically they're looking at you as something strange. If you follow the laws, statutes, and commandments in days that was commanded out of the Bible. See that? Automatic people are like, why don't you come over for Christmas? I don't celebrate that. And all the family getting together talking about you like, man, I think you listen to somebody online. I think he's joining a cult. Huh? We're actually trying to follow the Bible. So, but they must demonize you, right? And discredit you before destroying you. Come on.
Then might a man have seen the present misery. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led about the city, the babes hanging at their breast, cast them headlong from the wall, or cast them down headlong from the wall.
They made a public example by killing a woman and her child. Through fear, the other women would begin to teach their children to follow the laws of the land and worship Satan. Okay. Read.
Verse 11, and others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered to Philip, were all burnt together.
So if you were found keeping the Sabbath privately in a cave, they would do what?
Were all burnt together.
They were all burnt together
Because they had made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
Look at that. It's to the degree in which we had to hide to actually gather to serve God on the day he commanded Moses. It was a decree to put an Israelite to death if he worshiped his God on the Sabbath day. Come on.
Now I'm going to finish. I'm going to read from 12 to verse 19. And
Come on, yes. And then we can segue.
Yes, sir. Now beseech those that read this book. Here's the balance, right? Now beseech those that read this book that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation.
Most High correcting us.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
That we're to look at this and not judge just what you're seeing on the surface. It's now us going through the curses due to the disobedience for breaking his law. That we're to look at this and say, well, okay, the curses of God has fallen upon our people. Read.
For it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered any longer time, but forthwith punished. For not as with other nations whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punishment, till they become to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us. Lest that being come to the height of sin afterwards, he should take vengeance of us. And therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us, or never withdraweth his mercy from us. And though he punish with adversity,
Come on.
yet doeth he never forsake his people.
It says, so even though we're going through these curses and the Gentiles are allowed to institute some of this tyranny against us. Read that last piece again.
It says, and therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us.
He never withdrew his mercy from us.
And though he punish us with adversity,
And though he punish us with adversity,
yet doeth he never forsake his people.
but he never forsook us.
Judgment starts on the house.
Because if it was exactly, judgment starts in the house of Israel. And keep in mind, if it was up to the Gentiles in place, there will be no flesh left. None of us, we wouldn't be here right now. He's proven his mercy that he've always had amongst the children of Israel. His grace he've always had on us. Because it was up to these Gentiles. I'm talking about the authority, the Satanist. None of us would be left. Right? Go on.
Just a few more verses. It says, verse 17, but let this that we have spoken be for a warning to us.
Let this be for a warning to us.
So everything we read about these customs, these are a warning unto our people.
Exactly.
It says, and now we will come to the declaring of the matter in few words. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh.
So they forced a righteous man to eat swine's flesh. I'm going to show you how wicked and evil that is, the consuming of pork. Okay, swine. That's one of the animals that tell us in Leviticus that Not only are you not to eat it, when you see it, you're not even supposed to touch its dead carcass. You're unclean by touching a dead pig, let alone eating it. Read.
Verse 19. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously.
So here it is. Here it is. A righteous man died. There was a choice for him to either eat the pork or die. He chose death. Read.
But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment, as it behooved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. It goes on and on. I don't know if you want to go into the story, but...
Well, it's saying all together, following God's law and living for it, which means even dying for following it, is better than living with the humiliation and shame of a slave. Right? Going on. After Antiochus Epiphanes, what happens? What happens is you have a large number, eventually, of Edomites who began to convert to Judaism. Right? I need you to read that part where the Edomites began to convert into a people of color's religion. Before this, there was no such thing as what you would call Caucasian Jews. Let's show them again, and so that you don't believe we're making this up and it came from us. Again, I love showing people what they've hid. The name of the Most High, Ahia out of the burning bush. They knew his name the whole time.
Wow.
But they hid it with this so that people couldn't see it.
Oh, wow. Check that out.
The Jews in their land.
Check that out. Wow. So got the Most High's name on the cover. And the
But
cover
they
is
hid it.
Funny.
They hid it. They hid it.
Funny. Wow. Funny.
And this is a book that chronicles all of Jewry when the Europeans began to convert, up until the time they gained power, even through the time through Christ, even to the time where the converts would be in the land today. It's all chronicled here in their book. And even guess what? They don't even deny that they converted in this book. In the book, it tells you where now you can find the origin of what you would call white or Caucasian Jews. Let's read it.
I'm going to read from page 137. It says here, the wars of Johanan Hyrcanus were a continuation of the struggle. Yep.
Hyrcanus, yeah.
It says, were a continuation of the struggle begun by his predecessors. Like his father, he dreamed of repossessing the nation's ancestral heritage.
So now you have what you call during the Hasmonean dynasty under the Maccabees. They're trying to now reinstitute the laws and set up the temple in righteousness again, because Antiochus made it a law for us not to follow God's commandments. So now under the Hasmonean dynasty, it's our people reviving, bringing back the Sabbath, going against the Greeks for them defying our God. And now our God has given us power to rebuild the temple now. Right? Come on.
It says here, as a result, Johanan Hyrcanus, the son of the heir of Simeon, was able to begin his fight to restore Jewish rule
Jewish rule throughout the land. Not Jewish. It was speaking of the Israelites,
Exactly.
Judah.
That's right.
Okay. Why? Here's the battle. Another king comes up, take us down, begin tyranny against us, hanging and killing our women and children, and then it comes a time where the men rise up again, take the temple, begin to restore law, statutes, and commandments of God, to remind people that we're Israel. Same thing happened in America. We was hung. We was made to break God's law. And at the very end, men would rise up and begin to say, you know, we're the people, and begin to build the temple all over again. Mm-hmm. Same thing. Mm-hmm. Read.
Like his father, he dreamed of repossessing the nation's ancestral heritage, that is the entire land of Israel. Johanan's military campaigns were conducted on 3 fronts in the north, south, and east, and proved of major importance for the country's future.
Come on.
In the first 20 years of the 2nd century BCE, he succeeded in annexing important areas in the interior to the Judean state. Of particular importance was his expansion to the south. The whole of Idumea.
The whole of Idumea. Idumea is Edom or Rome. Mm-hmm. Edomites, right? Idumeans. Read.
The whole of Idumea or Edom became a part of Judea, and its inhabitants were converted to Judaism.
And they were converted unto what?
Judaism.
Into Judaism. They were converted, folks. Boom. Mm-hmm. Now you would have what we call today from what you would call the children of them practicing Judaism, Jewish people. Mm-hmm. It happened here during the time of the Hasmonean dynasty, where Europeans, Edomites, began to convert into Judaism. Mm-hmm. Read.
From then on, the Idumeans were an inseparable part of the Jewish nation, and their leading families occupied positions of authority in the Hasmonean state. Johanan also made conquests in Transjordan.
So what happened? Go ahead.
Hey, I created said, yo, listen, all of you need to convert. Every one of you can.
Yeah.
For you to be here,
you must convert.
Follow
See, but they didn't convert to uphold and serve the living God.
Right.
They converted to buy time.
Exactly. To stay.
Right. To take over.
Exactly. Yeah. Because why? Their backs was against the wall. Either they convert or die.
Yeah.
So they didn't convert to uphold the true tenets of the law, statutes, and commandments. That's why even till this day, they'll say, well, yeah, we follow the Talmud. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it wasn't their intentions of following our law. They were forced to convert. Mm-hmm. But then they gained authority and they became, you got it, the heads over Judea through Antipater, and eventually through Antipater's sons, the Herodian dynasty, the Herods. Mm-hmm. Now you got Edomites as Jews ruling over Judea during the birth of Christ, and this is why Herod planned to kill the child. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He planned to kill the seed of Jacob, the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why? Because the promised child was coming in, and Herod was from the seed of Edom, his evil arch twin.
Mm-hmm. And he posed a threat to that rulership.
Exactly.
He posed a threat to the throne.
Exactly. So now we're showing you. And this lesson is they took the black Jews away. Now you have the Roman Idumeans ruling from the Caesars on one front, and then you have what? You have now the Edomite Idumean Jews, Edomites ruling on a political front, and then you have our leaders being funded as a form of control as taskmasters over Israelites in Judea. Like our modern day politicians, who have a greater allegiance to the Roman Empire than they do to their own people in Judea. Same as today. Your politicians, your so-called pastors, they're upholding Caesar's kingdom for the mighty dollar. But getting back on point here, I'm going to show you during Christ's time that Christ and the disciples all followed the Sabbath. They didn't follow what the Romans were instituting or what Antiochus was instituting. And see, Christian churches today would have us believe that when Christ came on the scene, he did away with Moses' law and began to follow Sunday worship. When Sunday worship is a clear indicator of those, it's a sign between Satan and his servants, as the Sabbath is a sign between God and his servants. Okay? Let's go.
Yes, sir. Two things I want to read before we get into the Bible.
Come on, let's go.
This is Imperial Rome. Okay, page 126, and then also we'll read a little bit off of 170. Jews under Rome. So this is what was happening with the Jews and the Christians under the Roman Empire.
What page you at?
This is 126, and also we'll read a little bit off of page 170.
Okay. Let me show this so that they can know it's documented and be able to research it themselves. Imperial Rome. Go ahead.
So it says here, besides Christianity, the only major religion to survive the impact of Roman domination was Judaism, symbolized by this seven-branched candlestick or menorah from a relief in the ancient Palestinian catacombs of Beth Sha'arim. Scattered in small settlements throughout the empire and surrounded by pagans.
And they were surrounded by pagans. We were, read.
The Jews clung to their belief in one God.
Hold up now. The who?
The Jews clung to their belief in one God and to the literature, laws, and language which had united them as a people some 1,300 years or some 1,300 years.
So what is this showing here? This showing here that the so-called Jews, especially those of conversion, began to unite themselves under the same oath that was made during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes. See that? Read that again.
It says here, besides Christianity,
the
only major religion to survive the impact of Rome domination was Judaism.
That's the Judaism we see today. Why did they allow Judaism to survive? Why? Read.
Symbolized by the seven-branched candlestick or menorah from a relief in the ancient Palestinian catacombs of Beth Sha'arim.
Come on.
Scattered in small settlements throughout the empire.
So it says scattered throughout small settlements in the empire.
And surrounded by pagans, the Jews clung to their belief in one God and to the literature and laws and language which had united them as a people for some 1,300 years.
Okay, so I had to correct that because what this is saying here is that even though the pagans ruled and had power in the area, our people that were scattered in pockets still followed the law, statutes, and commandments.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I wanted to, you had to read it again. I'm glad you put that out there. But we had to do a lot of this in secret. We had to secretly follow the laws, knowing that eventually it would lead to what? More scattering, more persecution. And let's show you those Israelites, Christ and the disciples, where their pictures were actually placed under the catacombs of Rome when we were scattered, when we were running from Roman tyranny. Let's show it real quick before you read that.
This is page 170. So that's an image of Christ and the apostles. And in the corner, that's an image of the three holy children in the fire.
The three holy children in the fire. And look at that there. Under the catacombs of Rome. They took the black Jews.
Now let's see what was happening with these Christians that followed Christ, Jews that followed Christ.
Here are the Jews that followed Christ. Read.
In the early years,
Christians
were blamed and punished by the Romans for all sorts of disasters, plagues, inflation, even barbarian incursions.
So they started to do put all types of persecution and afflictions on those who followed Christ, our people. Read.
They started in other words, they were blaming us for anything, for everything.
For everything.
If a plague took place, they would blame us. If the barbarians came and took parts of Rome, they would blame Christians.
Exactly. Begin to demonize.
Exactly. That's the word.
Israelites who followed Christ. Don't forget, at this time, the original Christians were all people of color before the conversion. When Christ was on the scene, the majority of Christians were people of color. The Romans were known pagans. Okay, read.
The first Christians were put to death after they were held responsible by Nero for the fire that burned much of Rome in AD 64. Their executions became sport events, wrote Tacitus. They were covered with wild animal skins and torn apart by dogs.
It was throwing us in the Colosseum, having us fight beasts, animals, lions, and all that. It was us fighting in those Colosseums. Gladiator, this was us. They was doing this to black Christians. Right? Because why? We wouldn't conform into their pagan beliefs.
Exactly.
Now you have our same people today, the same people who were torn to bits, standing for Christ, standing for the laws of God. You have us now standing to defend paganism. Read.
The Emperor Decius forced Christians to take loyal oaths. Valerian organized mass murders of churchmen. Forbidden access to regular burial places, Christians buried their dead in the graves used by the poor, crowded underground vaults called catacombs built outside the city. And that's the example of a catacomb.
The catacombs built outside of the city.
So these were the original Christians.
These are the original Christians.
So look what befell, look what the Romans did to the original Christians. And let's see if this matches the current modern day Christianity that is promoted today.
Exactly. Think about this. You notice that the government powers uphold and finance the modern day Christians. They're not against the Christians because why? Christians today are pagans. The name Christian is just a cover for pagans in our modern day churches. Jesus is just some character. They're not there for Christ at all. He's just some character, the reason to gather. Okay? Christians today are pagans. They're fully indoctrinated pagans. I'm going to tell you right now. What we're seeing is the full fulfillment of Antiochus Epiphanes' dream for the children of Israel. When we look at our people in churches serving Christmas, Easter, Sunday, making an excuse, saying, well, I worship God any day of the week. But what day do you make a holy convocation? Do you make a holy convocation the day God said make a holy convocation, which is Sabbath? Or is Sunday your holy convocation? You are pagan. Okay? And then then they become dismissive to the degree in which total hypocrisy, and they'll come out of their mouth and think it's okay to say, well, I know the majority of things we do are pagan, but. I mean, are you kidding me? I'll be like, hold up, dude. Back that up one more time. So you're saying you know what you're doing is pagan. Okay, you are a minister of Satan, dude. Woe to them that call evil good and good evil. Pagan is Satanism. Period. Now, Elder Lawyer, real quick, we're going to fly through them real quick, and I got a few more things in history to show.
Sir.
Let's go into the New Testament real quick, and let's show that Christ stood for the Sabbath, and the disciples stood for the Sabbath.
St. Luke chapter 4, verse number 16.
St. Luke 4:16, read.
And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up,
Speaking of Christ,
and as was his custom, or as his custom was,
his custom was,
he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day,
he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day. So Christ followed the customs that were given to us through Moses. Right? Come on.
And stood up for to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives.
All the people Christ is talking about today, the captives, the fatherless, the brokenhearted, they're looking for some level of resolve on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
When Christ proclaimed this
Exactly.
on the Sabbath day.
Mm-hmm.
Read it again.
Verse number 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was.
His customs was.
He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day.
On the Sabbath day, the day God commanded to hallow, to make holy, a holy convocation. Mm-hmm. The Lord's day. Read.
Verse 17.
Now, you want to tell me Christ is not the Lord? That y'all say he's your Lord?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how can you say Sunday is the Lord's day? Mm-hmm. When your Lord right here, as a tradition and custom to his forefathers, is proclaiming liberty to the captives on the Sabbath day. Mm-hmm. Now, how backwards is that? He's proclaiming liberty to those who need him, and we're looking for deliverance on a Sunday, when he proclaimed it on the Sabbath. Read it.
And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor.
Hold up. The gospel was taught on the Sabbath. The first mention of the gospel was taught on the Sabbath day, folks.
That's right. That's right.
That the gospel should be taught, what? Beginning on the Sabbath. Gospel means good news. To who?
The gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives.
What are we going to church for? Mm-hmm. For healing. So he says the brokenhearted, those that spirits are broken. I'm here to proclaim liberty to them. I'm here to heal them. So the healing is going on the Sabbath, and you sitting there a day later talking about, yeah, I'm here on the Lord's day.
Which Lord?
Yeah, they on the Lord's day. What Lord?
Mm-hmm.
The Lord of darkness. That's what Lord's day they're worshiping on a Sunday. And I'm going to go into it. This coming Wednesday, I'm going to be dropping the origin of Sunday worship. Where did it come from? Why are people choosing to do something on the first day of the week opposed to the Sabbath, defying the laws of God? This Wednesday, when I go into the collapse of the black church. But go on.
And recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised.
Someone says, so the Muslims kind of got it right. No, the Muslims kind of got it absolutely wrong.
Exactly.
They're of their father, the devil. Mm-hmm. Okay? Absolutely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because why? The Sabbath starts sundown Friday. And the Muslims purposely start their Sabbath Friday morning, and it ends when the sun go down Friday. Mm-hmm. So they don't even deal with the Sabbath at all. They do it Friday morning to Friday sundown. Then they go out partying. And the Christians and Muslims got the same thing in common. Let's party Friday night when the Sabbath starts. They do it one day early, Muslims do, and the Christians do it one day late on purpose. Come on.
To preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book and gave it to the minister.
So hold up. Christ proclaimed the acceptable day of his return on the Sabbath day. Mm-hmm. No wonder Christ says, when he deal with that prophecy in Matthew 24, that be careful that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Why would he put the Sabbath day out there as a sign of his coming?
Exactly.
If the Sabbath is done away with, why when the disciples asked, when should be the sign of thy coming? And he told you, listen, be careful that your flight be not in winter, neither on the Sabbath day.
And that kills kills the idea that Christ changed the Sabbath after his death, because he was prophesying a time after he had died that you would have to look out for these signs.
Exactly.
So it kills that whole concept. If he's telling us, if they're asking, which shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world, and he's telling them to look at the Sabbath as a sign for the end of his coming, or the end of the world and the time of his coming, then that would mean that after he died, rose, okay, and the apostles went on their ministry, that the Sabbath would still be standing. Exactly. It would still be in existence. So it kills the idea that, well, after Christ rose, after he died, that now those who follow Christ would now make Sunday the official day of worship in remembrance of Christ's death. That's nowhere in the Bible. It's nowhere established amongst the apostles. It's not established amongst Christ, so on and so forth. But reading on here, just showing again, as the elder was stating that.
Hold up now, hold up. I gotta hit something. Hold it and get Matthew 24, where Christ says, "Go." Let's go there. Where the disciples asked Christ. So when shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? The disciples asked Christ, right? And make sure it says go to the flight. You got that too?
Yes, sir.
But before you get that, let me state this, because someone is asking, what do we keep meaning? What do elders keep meaning when I say academy? Every Sunday we have a Hebrew and Bible Academy. Every Sunday. And if you think what's being taught here is something, and then we're going into a lot of information today, you're missing out if you're not in that academy, folks. Tomorrow we're going into Israelite doctrine, as well as the customs and heritage and or the traditions through our transitioning. You're hearing the truth now. You know the truth, and you're hearing this Israelite say we got to be doing this. This Israelite saying you got to be doing that. What is the proper way to walk and understand and progress without being thrown off through your transition? How to gain a foundation during this transition. We'll be going in that tomorrow. The culture, moral, civil, and dietary laws tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. It's the Hebrew and Bible Academy. HistoryTimes.org if you want to get there, because I'm going to tell you, the Most High have us dropping some serious information. As we get it, it's delivered in this academy. But go ahead.
Matthew chapter 24, verse 3.
Come on.
And as he sat upon the mountain of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be?
Now, hold up. Now, the disciples are asking Christ, tell us, when shall these things be?
And what shall be the sign of thy coming?
The what?
The sign of thy coming.
The sign of thine coming.
And of the end of the world.
And of the end of the world. Now, in answering this question, the first thing Christ said was what?
Take heed that no man deceive you.
He says, listen, what I'm about to drop on you, disciples here, asking me what should be the signs of my coming in the end of the world. Make sure no man deceive you from what I'm about to drop right now. So obviously Christ knows that there's a people who would look to distort the signs of his coming, or deceive you from understanding the signs of his coming. Well, it so happened in the Old Testament, it tells us that the Sabbath is a sign between the Most High and man, right? Let's go where Christ says about the Sabbath.
Verse 20. But pray that your flight be not in the winter.
He says, he told the disciples at the end, pray that your flight be not in the winter.
Neither on the Sabbath day.
Neither on the Sabbath day. Now, here's the issue. Christ gave this prophecy after his death and resurrection. He gave this understanding. Right?
He gave it before his
right before it.
Right.
No, he gave it before it, but what I'm saying is,
It's in relation.
No. The end of the world
Right,
is after
exactly.
his death and resurrection.
Exactly.
So the whole thing is, if it's the sign of his second coming, that means we here at the end of the world must know or follow the Sabbath to take heed of this last sign.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because the end of the world is after Christ's death. So it says, well, what shall be the end of the world in the sign of thy coming, Christ? He says, well, take heed that no man deceive you. Pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. So if the Sabbath is done away with, what's to do with this prophecy right here concerning his coming? The Sabbath is a sign in the last days for those to be on schedule according to prophecy, because Jubilees is broken down by Sabbaths. By Sabbath days. That's how the earth, that's how the heavens keep time on earth from one Sabbath to the next.
Right.
So there's going to be a certain number of Sabbaths before the Most High tell Christ it's finished. Go now. Now, so we understand that Christ himself proclaimed the gospel and his mission on the Sabbath. We also understand that Christ says a sign of his coming is related to a Sabbath. We also know that Antiochus Epiphanes, 100 some odd years before Christ came on the scene, made a law in which it's forbidden for Jews or Israelites to worship on the Sabbath. We also understand they begin to set up Sunday worship under Bacchus and have us now use Sunday worship the first day of the week as a Sabbath, opposed to what God commanded Moses and his people. We also know that God's people went into captivity for profaning the Sabbath and breaking God's law. Right? Now, let's get Matthew 12:1.
St. Matthew chapter 12, verse number 1.
Yeah.
At that time, Yeshua went on the Sabbath day through the corn.
And that day, the Lord... Now, you notice all through the New Testaments, the Most High is keeping time through Christ based on what? Sabbath days. And you notice the Christian church want to pull out the first day of the week, the day we come to actually collect money and do business. The reason why it's said to collect the money on the first day of the week is because it was forbidden to deal with all of the business on the Sabbath at that time. Okay? You couldn't deal with none of the business as far as planning to go to other places and make sure we set forth money for this particular elder to come over and all that. They set that task for the first day of the week. But you notice pagans will promote first day of the week all through the scriptures. I mean, all throughout their discourse, right? Instead of showing where the Lord upheld the Sabbath. The question is, why? Why do Christians hold the first day of the week over the Sabbath? Ask them. You know what their answer would be? Well, Christ rose on the first day of the week. No, he didn't. That's a lie. That didn't happen. And if he did rise on the first day of the week, what scriptures in the Bible says that let's switch Sabbath to the first day of the week?
Exactly.
Just say he did. Give me the scriptures that shows that that God commanded us to change that. Right? Come on.
Sabbath is on Saturday, not Sunday. Follow all the commandments, read the Bible, get baptized. The government, holidays, religions all over. Christ is dark skin while aware. His real name is Josiah, and he's the son. The father, I am, given to Moses in Exodus. I am, Ahai Shahaya. Being a Jew or Israelite, the real Israelites are a people, 12 tribes, a people, not a religion. Jewish people are Romans from Esau, and the synagogue of Satan under Satan that controls the world, the government higher-ups, like Rothschilds. So, wake up. 90% will fall, 10% will run it. It's Satan's world. 1 for 4 on YouTube. Watch them, and